Hello, my name is Toya Tingle, and today I'm here with Jaria Stankovic. We are going to be talking about Fontes and Pinnell's article, Learning to Read, Three Critical Areas of Early Learning. I'm going to let Jaria tell you a little bit about herself and her background.
Hi, my name's Daria. I am a recent graduate from Central Washington University, where I did a double major in elementary education and special education. Throughout that program, it was a teacher preparation program, so I did both a student teaching experience as well as a special education practicum, where I was immersed in a third through fifth resource room that looked at language, literacy, math, science, kind of whatever the student's IEP goals dictated that the student needed. And in my student teaching experience, I was immersed in a third grade classroom that focused on math and science. Both of those experiences kind of showed me language from two different sides and literacy from two different sides. So for students who were struggling with language and literacy components, as well as how to incorporate literacy more thoroughly in a strictly math and science classroom to kind of create a more well-rounded experience, especially when introducing concepts. I also have done a number of classroom observations and multiple grade levels, as well as some substituting experiences where I was a paraprofessional assisting students one-on-one with their specific IEP goals as well. Some of those also were regarding communication, language, and literacy-related skills.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Daria. So, thank you again for being here, and we're just going to talk about a few questions and then we'll just get the ball rolling on some of them. So, for those of you who don't know, Fontes and Pinnell wrote a pre-kindergarten handbook focused on literacy beginnings, and chapter 10 focuses on the three critical areas of early learning for these children. And the three critical areas are story awareness, print awareness, and language awareness. And I wanted to talk to Daria about some of the questions that she had from the article, and some things that it left us wondering about. Okay, Daria. So the first question I have is just after reading the article, were there any insights that it gave you, or did it leave you with any questions that you might want to research more?
Yeah, so I actually found this article really interesting, and as I was reading this article, I was kind of picturing my young niece and nephew and some of the behaviors that I've seen as they've started to experiment with literacy and have started to learn how to read. And one of the things that I really kind of took away from the article was just like how some of those processes that young kids do, like memorizing stories or just even engaging and talking about stories on their own, how that was very much grounded in research and literature, and like that has an explanation. And it was one of those things where I think I always kind of subconsciously knew that, but this article really like helped point things out where it talked about how memorization is actually helping students and children develop how language is used and grammatical structure of how language is used, and helping them understand written language in combination with oral language. It was really interesting to kind of be able to put some of the things that I've seen in that environment with some of the literature to make those connections.
That's a really great point. Actually, in regards to children reading before they actually learn to read text, chapter 10 in Learning to Read, Three Critical Areas of Early Learning states that children younger than a 1-year-old can respond to stories that are read to them. Given this information, how would you respond to someone who said, I can't read the books, I haven't learned how to read yet?
I would respond to them by probably pulling a wordless picture book, because in my collection I've got some wordless picture books and I personally adore them. And I would challenge them to tell me the story based on what they're seeing, because I think that at that point the child probably would have realized that the print and the text within a book contributes to the story. So they probably have this idea that because I can't read the text, I therefore can't read the story. But there's also so much that you can get from the illustrations, and I think that this article really addressed that, especially in the response to using wordless picture books. So I think my response to that student would be, yes, you can read this book. Look at and tell me what you know about the illustrations, and tell me what you see, and tell me what's happening, and use your imagination based on the pictures to tell me a story. And then I think I would further support that student by giving them some wordless picture books to really practice that skill, so they start to believe that even though they might not be able to read the text yet, they can still read the story, and they can still gain a lot of information from the illustrations in the book and the story itself.
Awesome. Thank you so much. This is something that I started to wonder about as I was reading it, because I'm learning a little bit more about Nashville and the languages that are spoken in Nashville, including Farsi and what were some of the other languages? Kurdish, Arabic, and Farsi. So in the print awareness section of this article, it talks about how naturally, or even as teachers, we're trained to point to the words and go from left to right, and that's how children learn that reading is from left to right. So I was wondering if you had any ideas that you would incorporate, let's say if you became a teacher in Nashville, for children who naturally read from right to left in their home language.
I think I would start to maybe pull in some books that are laid out like that to help them kind of transition from reading right to left to reading left to right, and honoring that within their home language they do read from right to left and being sensitive to that, but then also helping guide them and teach them that within the English language and the books that they're studying through formal schooling in the United States are going to read from left to right. So I think I would start to help transition that. I think I would also, in Read Aloud, model that. So maybe using my pointer finger or having a student come up and model some of that to start to help transition that thinking. And then soon I would help guide them, just, redirecting them if I did notice that they're reading right to left or writing right to left, redirecting them to starting from the left-hand corner and kind of doing some more formalized instruction on the left to right directionality.
Awesome. Thank you. The last question I have for you is just a personal question for you. Do you have any books off the top of your head that you really love, that you use for its text complexity and engaging narrative that seems to be a hit whenever you read it, or ones that you use to teach print awareness or text awareness?
Yeah, I have a couple. So there's one that I really like to read. It's called Giraffe Problems, and it's a really fun book that just has some funky print and funky writer's craft that the author has used within the story, and some of the words are really big or they're really wide stretched, and so it's really fun to have the students see the different print and then be able to follow it throughout the book because the page opens in different directions. Yeah.
That's great. Thank you so much, Daria.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks for being here today.
Absolutely. Thank you.